So intelligence is the ability to acquire knowledge and apply it logically. It includes IQ, problem-solving skills, and analytical and education. So that's intelligence. That's what the world glorifies today. And wisdom, on the other hand, is the ability to apply knowledge with discernment and moral integrity.
To simplify, intelligence is basically knowing what to do, and then wisdom is knowing how and when to do it in a way that would be, whether it's morally or ethically right.
Welcome to Beyond Logic, the podcast that challenges the way you think, questions the status quo, and dives deep into life's biggest challenges. Here we go beyond what's seen, beyond what's obvious, and beyond mere logic. If you're ready to think deeper, challenge your perspective, and step into a greater understanding of life, this is the place for you. My name is Frank Kenny, and this is Beyond Logic. Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Beyond Logic. I believe this is episode 6 that we're doing. And
episode 6 already?
Yeah, episode 6 already. This is we're making progress, man. We're making progress because last week we shot 2 episodes, which is good. But I'm excited about this topic today because this is gonna be quite an interesting one. The main topic, the baseline topic that we're gonna be talking about today is the difference, not the difference, but intelligence versus wisdom, right? And the reason why this is a very interesting topic because in today's society, we glorify intelligence by measuring people on different scales, like looking at their IQ score, looking at their ability to think logically, and a host of other things, right? But see, a lot of people that are very intelligent tend to lack wisdom. And we're going to go to a lot of different world life experiences, how a lot of people that are perceived as intelligent oftentimes end up in a detrimental place, in a place that doesn't necessarily serve them. A lot of them are locked up, right? And so that is to say that a lot of these people had a lot of intelligence, but they lacked wisdom, right? And so we're going to cover both of these, and then we're going to look at some biblical example, which is always one of my favorite things to look at. I love reading the Bible and getting wisdom from it, But anyhow, let's jump into it. And as always, we have our co-host over here, Kai. What's going on, Kai? Welcome back to the podcast again.
What up? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm excited. How's your week been so far?
It's good.
Yeah.
Nothing to report. Let's jump right in, man.
Let's jump right in?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's jump right in. So intelligence versus wisdom, or this is a common, this is obvious, but what do you think is more important? Intelligence or wisdom? And why do you think society today glorifies intelligence so much as opposed to wisdom?
Well, I think it's important for us to define that first.
Okay,
Intelligence is what, wisdom is what.
Okay, that's a good thing. Okay,
I would say intelligence is somebody's.
So because I was writing this down, I was doing some research on this, and so I'll give you an example. I'll give you basically what I wrote down for what intelligence is and what wisdom. Because you're right? We have to be able to distinguish between the two and actually explain what it is. So let's look at this. All right. Okay. So intelligence. So this is what I was looking at. So intelligence is the ability to acquire knowledge and apply it logically, right? It includes IQ, problem-solving skills, and analytical and education. So that's intelligence. That's what the world glorifies today, right? And wisdom, on the other hand, is the ability to apply knowledge with discernment and moral integrity, right? It includes experience, good judgment, self-control, and an understanding. This is my favorite piece of God's principles. So that's the biggest difference between those two, right? So that's how I define intelligence and wisdom. I'm curious if you see this if you would define it as anything different than what I have.
No, that sounds about right. I would say that the only thing I'd add is, to simplify, intelligence is basically knowing what to do, and then wisdom is knowing how and when to do it in a way that would be, whether it's morally or ethically right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what he's basically just this simplified. So just kind of based, and I'll give my reason as to why people glorify intelligence over wisdom in today's culture, and why so many people, why like it affects so many people's life, like in a negative term as opposed to like a positive. But like I'm curious, why do you think this is more intelligence is more glorified in today's culture, today's society?
Well, intelligence is aligned with competence. It's easier to see. More people can, it's tangibly measurable, whereas wisdom is not. And then I would say that there are less cases of, wisdom being shown in the world on a day-to-day basis. You tend to not notice the old man at the side of the road who maybe has the wisdom but doesn't show it versus someone who has the intellect and is seeking to display it on social media or something. Not saying that only old people have wisdom, but I just think that it's people who have wisdom tend to know that it's better to not be boastful and to be humble, and people who don't have wisdom tend to want to express themselves differently.
Yeah.
And so it's being shown less.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily like, I don't think intelligent people end up in bad places. I don't agree with that statement. I think that most intelligent people end up in very good places because they're competent. But whether they stay in good places,
and I'll say this, like those people that do end up in bad places, like they have a high level of intelligence but no wisdom. And so if like because of the lack of one or the other.
I just want to clarify the difference between, because there are a lot of very low intelligence people who end up in bad places, and there are high intelligence people who end up in bad places. But I would probably say, generally speaking, there are. I don't know. I don't have the data to support this, so I don't know the difference. I don't want a blanket statement saying, "Oh, if you're high intelligence and you have no wisdom, you're going to end up in a bad place." That's not true.
No, that's not like that. Yes, you're right. Like that is not true. But I think like the big thing that I do want to bring to support that is just like wisdom, and we'll dive into more, case by case examples of why that is. Because generally speaking, like a lot of the very intelligent people, they make stupid decisions, like very stupid decisions, and they will. We'll talk about Elon Musk, one of your favorite person. We'll talk about him. This guy is very, very intelligent, but yet makes a lot of stupid decisions. And I'm not saying he lacks wisdom. He has some degree of it. I mean, he's still alive. He's still striving. He's still successful. But in a lot of cases, I hope you don't get upset, Matt. But
upset,
he
People,
makes.
I like him.
Bro,
and I have followed him for a long time, and I've invested in his companies. But I don't glorify the man. We
had this conversation at dinner the other day. It was you and Mo basically were going in this argument. And I mean, maybe I may be wrong, but like the way you were talking about him kind of made it seem like you glorified this man, but which I don't think obviously that's true, but just kind of the way you were talking about him.
Well,
you were
let
like,
the audience
you
judge
were,
this in the
you were
future.
backing up literally everything he was doing with data, like but
because it's the truth.
It's the truth in what aspect?
What we were talking about. Okay, we can get to specifics on Elon Musk later.
Yeah, we can go to.
Let's get back to this.
Yeah, let's not go too far over here, but yeah. So let's just going back. So intelligence. Again, from what I see happen in today's society, in today's world, highly intelligent people with the lack of wisdom, generally speaking, obviously again that's case by case. A lot of them sometimes end up in not the the best case scenario, like in not the most pleasant places. And the big example I want to bring up is the what's the FTS guy, like the Sam
Sam
Banks?
Bankman.
Yeah.
Whatever.
This guy was all over the news for an extended period of time. Like this guy was very, very smart, but yet this guy highly lacked wisdom. And look what that got him today. This guy's rotting in jail right now. Obviously, that can be like in extreme cases, but this is kind of a perfect example of like somebody that's like very, very smart, right? But yet he lacked the wisdom to be able to intelligently or with wisdom apply that intelligent, And so today this man is rotting in jail. I don't know. Do you know like the whole story behind like what happened with?
I know generally. I don't know the details.
Yeah.
But I would think that it's.
Bro, why are you talking so low today?
Am I?
Yeah, you're like.
Probably because of my lack of Newtonic.
Bro, we can share, bro.
No, good.
No.
I think that his case was it wasn't like, I don't know if it was a lack of wisdom, but it was definitely a lack of moral ethics. He was so intelligent that he thought he could get away with something that actually
No,
I don't even think he thought he could get away with it. I really don't know why he did it, to be honest. I don't
Bro-
even think it was a intellectually smart move what he did.
exactly. He lacked the wisdom.
I don't even
bro.
think, I don't know if that was wisdom. I think he was just a
No,
retard at that point.
Exactly. He lacked the wisdom. Not that's has nothing to. Yeah, he lacked wisdom. He very much lacked wisdom.
Yeah,
to
you could say that.
the
But
like,
I'm also saying like if we just say intellectually speaking, his decision making near the end was also very stupid. It was like very stupid.
so then we can go back to this argument to where intelligent people think that they're so smart sometimes that they can override basically like the law, like the laws of God, the laws of man,
That's true.
right? In which just being able to think that, okay, you already lack wisdom. If you think that because you're so smart, you can essentially play everybody.
Yeah, they lack the wisdom to
Judge
see
the judge, yeah.
they lack the wisdom to see the consequences of their pride and arrogance.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
and that's another good point to add in that highly intelligent people sometimes, again, this is kind of sometimes do get very prideful, right? That's a big thing, very egoistic, and a lot of that like hinders their sight to really be able to apply wisdom on top of like what they're doing, you know. But
Yep.
so like
They also are, some very intelligent people become really nihilistic about the world
about
because
become what?
nihilistic means
is
they
that?
just have a very negative viewpoint of the world. They
Negative
think like
viewpoint.
nothing matters, nothing's important. They're so smart that they can see all the flaws in the world, and that prevents them from seeing all the good things, and then they can't focus on the gratitude. Like they're so smart to the point where they're, wow, what's the point of, praying and being grateful about things? Doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah,
Like
but
I'm too smart for this, and etc. It goes that way too.
yeah. So just kind of going back to like the Sam, like the bank, the like I don't particularly like know the full extent of his name, but like the FTX scandal thing. So essentially, he like was the founder of like the FTX, like which was a math and finance based genius. Like he was very smart in terms of like he understood finance like a high degree and math as well to a very very high degree. So he was very much analytical to a large extent.
It was a crypto exchange.
A crypto exchange. Yeah, I was gonna get into that. But multi-billionaire. This guy was a multi-billionaire in the crypto space. He built like this whole crypto empire, right? And I don't particularly know too much of the detail because this is something that was on the news. Like everybody was talking about it at the time, But I just saw that as okay, how can somebody be so smart, but yet lack the intellect to the wisdom, not the intellect, but like the wisdom to be able to, I mean, just live a good life and help other people out with basically like the smarts that he had. I don't know. I just thought that was very stupid, like based upon like what you said, And I think that's just like a perfect example of okay, somebody that's smart doesn't know how to apply wisdom, and then because he doesn't know how to apply wisdom, people sometimes think that they're on top of the world, and then they end up, reversing like the order of which they got into, and then this guy is in jail now. I mean, we can even bring up like Diddy. He was very intelligent in a different space. Like he was very like musically gifted, right?
Yeah.
And he knew how to bring people together and build other people to some extent. And that's to a large extent kind of how he built like his global empire, right? But along the way, obviously, he made some stupid decision, which now catches back up with them. And I think also like the big thing with this, like they lack the ability to see long term into the future, right? People that are sometimes highly intelligent, they lack the ability to see long term in the future, right? And I think again that's also a problem because like sometimes when we just so much glorify intelligence, a lot of it like leads to like instant gratification. Like for example, like with knowledge, because intelligence again is a form of knowledge. Because like anybody can go and learn any forms of skills, right? Anybody can go like there's courses everywhere today to where you can go and learn skills, right? And then you can learn the skills, and then people will try to take that skills and like I want to apply this like right now, and maybe gain what the financial benefit of that may be, right? And again, a lot of people, they lack the foresight to see, okay, if I'm doing this right now, like how can this affect me in the long term? Like think about in second, third, or fourth order consequences. Like how can this affect me in the long term, right? Anything to add on top of that?
No.
Man didn't sleep today, bro. What time did you go to sleep last night, bro?
like 1:30ish.
1:30. What
Yeah,
time? What time
not
did?
too
What
bad.
time? What time were you?
I woke up at 8:30
Okay.
and texted you.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. But man, I was like, usually you're up and trying to devour me based upon the things that I'm saying. But today you kind
Yeah,
of.
I'm
But that's all. That's
no, I'm good. I just go ahead and keep going.
okay. Yeah. So one thing I was gonna go into. So I was gonna mention a Bible verse which I very much love. And then again, we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about some characters from like the Bible. How like Solomon, he's Solomon and David, who are like one of my favorite characters from the Bible. People that like I'm currently right now like studying a lot. Both of these men have like had great powers back in those time and were very very intelligent and had wisdom to some extent. The story with Solomon, this guy was like when he prayed to God, asking God for wisdom, right? Like he could have gotten anything in the world, like I'm talking about wealth, fame, women, whatever, but the dude instead asks for wisdom because to some extent he already knew that having wisdom could already help him acquire like the wealth, the fame, and whatever else that he desired, right? And so I very much love that story. But like the thing about Solomon is that although this guy was a very wise individual in the biblical term, but not many people knows what happened to him like afterward, later on in life, right? As I think the intelligent, he kind of started to lay low like wisdom and try to focus him more like on his intelligence, right? I think essentially like his fame kind of got a hold of him, right? I think this dude was said to have like had 700 wives, dude, which is freaking insane. Like 700 wives, which ultimately was like that's what came to his downfall because he was like marrying all these women, right? And a lot of them were women that didn't glorify God, and a lot of them also worship other gods, which is one of the biggest things it says in the Bible, like do not worship any other god but your Lord and Savior, right? And so over time, eventually he started worshiping other gods, right? Because again, his, the power that he ultimately had just kind of, ultimately just took a hold of him, right? And then it was said that ultimately Solomon died, not a poor person, but he just like in a very bad place. Now think about like this guy from in the beginning had amount all this wisdom, all this fame, all this wealth. How does one like that end up like dead, and essentially because of his downfall from his action, if that makes sense.
Well, everybody dies.
No, yeah, that's not what I'm trying to say.
I think the warning of that story is that you can let the power get into your head,
Yeah.
and you can think you can get away with those things.
Yeah, which is kind of goes back to the Sam.
And the thing is, like, just because you can, intelligence doesn't mean you should,
Right.
which is wisdom. And I think that he took it to, yeah, he's a king. He's wealthy. He can have as many wives and women as he wanted to, but it's not in the glory of God to do so.
Yeah.
So then he lost God's favor because of it.
Yep.
Now, how he ended up where he is,
I think he just abandoned God's law,
Yeah,
and he
he
did what God did not want him to
it's
do.
interesting because how he got there was by following God's law and
Exactly.
being very close to him. And then once he got there, he essentially slowly abandoned it over time through a series of decisions. And I think that's kind of the warning, because this is similar to what Sam Bankman. I gotta get his real name, man.
Yeah, it's Bankman.
Bankman,
And then it's like
Bankman,
Friedman.
Fried?
Yeah, Fried or something like that.
All right, I'm just call him SB,
As just the crypto guy. Call him the crypto guy.
FTX dude.
The FTX dude, yeah.
So like, I might be wrong, but what they did was they took customer funds and they used that to reinvest into, like, they lost all of their anything that backed customers' funds, and because they were reinvesting those things. So in the case of a market were to crash, they would essentially lose both the customer's money and the money that they had to back the customer's money, which is eventually what led to the crash. And then they started taking stuff out too.
Crazy.
But it was like a slow series of decisions that were morally, ethically gray. And it's like, okay, if it works out, it's really good for you. But if it doesn't, it's catastrophic. And taking that risk was probably not a good bet for anyone to really take, because you're jeopardizing a lot of people, not just yourself. And I think that's where wisdom comes in to say, okay, I have enough. I don't need to do this right now. I can have patience to wait. I can have discernment to see whether this is the right decision to make or not.
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. And I think
But I think the point is like the little decisions you make along the way. It's like tiny little things. We don't set out to move away from God in the biggest possible way with a giant middle finger or anything. Nobody really does that. There's always a series of actions that come before it leads to any point that's even close to it. So I think it's important that what wisdom helps you do is recognize those little decisions along the way,
no,
and it allows
absolutely.
you to keep on track, so to speak.
No, absolutely. And I think for me, just like the biggest thing with that is we tend to put like intelligent, like tend to worship that, like that very thing. We tend to worship that. And I think we talked about this in one of the podcasts, because I just see intelligence, it's all a tool, right? It's all a tool that God give us to essentially subdue like the earth. But then people tend to worship that as their God, right? And so therefore, because they leave out God, like they put God out of the picture, which essentially he's the one that helps us have the wisdom to be able to apply like the intellect and to be able to essentially not let this tool basically take advantage of us and essentially lead to our downfall. I think the big piece is that it's like you always have to ask for God's counsel and his wisdom to essentially help you to essentially manage this tool. Because again, I all see it as a tool.
Do you think someone can be wise without God or any sort of spiritual presence?
Do I think someone can be wise without God? I think not. I think part of wisdom is essentially living by God's principles, right? And I think when you start to defy those principles, that's when it also gets you into a lot of trouble.
What if
right?
What if they are living by the principles?
Then if you live by the principle, that means that you are
morally, but they're not spiritually connected.
So if you live, what's an example?
Someone who has never done bad in their life, who wants to do good for the world, who helps their community, and they've grown old and they don't do bad things, never killed anyone, they don't steal, they don't lie, they don't cheat, they help others, but they don't believe in God, or they don't go to church or any of those things. They're not spiritually connected, but they've had a wealth of experience over life, and they don't do anything bad with their competence.
Yeah. No, that's a very good question. That's a good point. And I think, a lot of those people, they may be wise in their eyes, but I think, again, without God's, counsel or guidance, I think sometimes those people, I mean, to me, I feel like sometimes they miss the bigger picture. Because, like, you can do all good, like all the good things in the world, like help other people and stuff like that, But I feel like there's still something that you're missing. And but then this kind of gets into
What about those who are with other religions? Can a Buddhist be wise?
This kind of goes back to the other question. This kind of goes back to another question. To then, like, okay, cool. Yet all those people did all those things. Will they inherit like the kingdom of God? No, not necessarily. Because then at that point, then you kind of miss the bigger picture to life in generally, right? Because life is a short period of time that we'll live, and then there's that's another side to that.
That's not their belief.
Yeah, that's not their belief. And so that's why I say, like, if that's not, it's not their belief. You're certainly right with that. And so because
Can a Buddhist be wise?
Can a Buddhist be wise?
Yes.
Yeah, they can be wise. Yeah, they can be the wise in the world. Yeah, they can be wise. And I think sometimes there's two different type of wisdom. There's worldly wisdom, like applying the rules and the principles of the world that governs the world. And then there's also godly wisdom. I think sometimes those things are like two different things.
What are the two differences?
Okay, so like worldly wisdom. So you look at the world, so like when you follow the rules and the principles of the world, like of what God has created, and this can go into like the laws of gravity, right? When you follow those things, I mean, you can accomplish a lot.
Is that not intelligence though?
Yeah, that's intelligence.
Right.
Yeah, but then if that's intelligence, that is intelligence.
I'm talking about wisdom.
Yeah.
What's the difference between godly wisdom and worldly wisdom, in your view?
Yeah. So, kind of going back. So, worldly wisdom. So, and this is how I see it. I'm not saying this is right or wrong so like worldly wisdom, I think it's applying like the principles of the world that we live in, that governs the world. Again, I mean, Yeah, that's yeah, you got me there. But no, applying the worldly wisdom, and I don't understand how to explain that like right now. But I'll go like with godly wisdom. Godly wisdom is like helping, like being good to like overall people, right? Because yeah, being good to overall people, and then kind of like the famous thing in the Bible is like somebody hit like slaps you on the left cheek or right cheek, and you look the other way, And then in addition to that, just serving God. I think that's also like another form of godly wisdom. And then just it's good. It's hard to kind of put us into context right now, but yeah, there's a difference. I have to think about what those differences are, but yeah, I really think there is a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I agree that there's a difference to some extent
Bec-
when it comes to your personal, I would say spiritual beliefs. But I believe that wisdom, in general, blankets the world the same.
Wisdom blankets
Where does our morality come from?
Where does our morality come from?
Yeah, why do we know what something's good or bad?
That's a good question. I think sometimes just innately in us,
Right.
we
Well,
know
why
what.
is that? Because God created it. If there's an all good, powerful being, and that's God, then there's also the all, not all powerful, but the all bad, which is the enemy, right? And we inherently know something is right and wrong. And generally speaking, across all cultures around the world, we can see what is good or what is bad based on just how rule of land and law develops. But that happens through a period of time for people to experience a lot of things, to know what certain things are good and what certain things are bad, right? And I think the difference between, and that's why I want to, I know where you're going with this. I don't agree that um, you have to be like a strong believer specifically in one religion in order to be considered like having wisdom. So that I don't agree with, because there's still a universal moral law that is good and bad. God created this, and he created it in different parts of the world, and it extends around different parts of the world through different cultures and different religions. And those people still have people who have wisdom, right? So it's not fair to extend this on a singular religion standpoint to say only Christians have wisdom or
And
something like that.
that's not all what I'm trying to say, and
Yeah,
that's not
I
at all
get
what
that, but
and
you're
you
trying to
asked,
make the connection between the worldly wisdom and the godly wisdom and trying to separate them as if they are in a sense the same, because the moral ethics in which binds the world is created by God. It's just done in different ways around the world. Is my
yeah.
point. And you're saying like, okay, this person who can be all good throughout their life, who have never done any bad in the world, but let's say they don't believe in Christ, but let's just say they believe in a different religion. They believe in Buddhism, right? Zen. They're going to be reincarnated. You think, in your opinion, that person is not wise in a godly sense because they do not believe that they're going to the kingdom of Christ and the kingdom of God. So that was your view, right? Do you still stand by that?
To some extent, yeah, to some extent.
What do you mean
yeah,
by to some extent?
to some extent. And I can't give I to some extent, and I can't give you the specific answer as to that right now. But this is something that we want to
Okay,
extend.
two identical people live identical lives
Mm-hmm.
across the world. Same, not literally not identical, but let's say morally, ethically identical. They're all good. Everyone, like they help their community, they help their family. They've done their, they had a really good career just building and doing what they needed to do. They never cheated anyone. They never lied. They never did anything that you would say like, wow, that was a morally ethical long-term decision, short-term, whatever. They've made mistakes in their life, sure, but they've made up for it. One is a Christian that lives in America. One is a Buddhist that lives in China. Are they equally moral, equally wise, given the outcomes of their life?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay, so
I think just
you're placing
godly wisdom extends what is just
but
beyond.
that's my point, is you're placing a value of, you're giving right now, you're giving a number of, like, if you could quantify this, you're saying that wisdom, if it was a 0 to 10, this is the number. And just because this person was a Christian, did the same thing as this person who was a Buddhist, this person gets the 10, but this person does not.
To some extent, yeah.
Okay. So then in your case, the thing that is wisdom in this world only comes from God, and only in the Christian sense. No other religion has wise people or as wise
Nah,
of people.
nah. That's now you're getting that twisted. That's not because
That's what you just said.
because basically you're saying that what I'm saying, like no other religion has, like no, that's not at all what I'm saying.
Then what was the
No.
difference between those two people who did the exact same
'Cause-
things throughout their life and made the same moral decisions and ended up in the same exact place, but one was a Buddhist and one was a Christian?
Yeah, because so based upon like
Why was one wiser than the other?
yeah, the main thing that I want to say is like godly wisdom extends beyond the world that we live in and extends into like afterlife as well. I think to some extent, like if one is not able to find a way, and it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard for me right now to kind of articulate this. But the main thing is like God's wisdom extends to afterlife. If somebody just does everything good on this planet that could ever be done, but then is not able to have eternal life in the afterlife, then based upon God's wisdom, I don't think this guy was so smart, because yeah, he did all the things that the people on earth want him to. I'm not obviously the people on earth, but like he did good things on earth, but then he wasn't able to live forever into the afterlife. And based upon the Christian faith, it's like if you don't believe in God that God is the Savior or Jesus is the Savior, then you cannot get eternal life. And so I think eternal life is part of having the wisdom to be able to attain that. And that's the big thing that I'm saying. So I guess you can argue that if other religions.
So this is my issue with that statement.
Okay.
Because you are using your worldviews to place your ideology, which is your religion, which is okay, but you're placing that as the value to measure something for everybody.
Yeah, it is my religion. Yeah, it is
yes,
my.
But,
yeah,
but
it is.
do you not see how that is like arrogant?
Yeah, that can be arrogant to some extent. Yeah.
No,
can
it
be.
is. It is just arrogant.
Okay, it can be arrogant to some extent. Yeah, but that.
I hate when you use that word, man.
But that is what like the Christian faith says.
Yes,
Is it
I
not?
understand that,
Okay.
but that is what our beliefs are. That is our. But we are. What is?
Yes, and this is based upon
it is
one
arrogance
specific
for us
ideology.
to take our belief and apply our standard as a metric to measure other people's, the way that they live their lives around the world in a completely different place, and to say that just because you don't believe in the same thing that we believe, that you are lesser than us.
Ooh, now you're using other words. I didn't say anything about
Bro.
lesser. I did not say anything about lesser than.
You just said they're not as smart if they do not believe that they will be going into the kingdom of Christ. You just said that earlier.
I said nothing. I said nothing about being smart or anything like that.
You did. You
No.
just said that's not a. Roll it back.
We should roll this back. We should
the
roll this
clip
back
later.
and say if that's the vernacular that I used to describe that. I did not.
Look,
I
my
use
point,
most of the.
My point is that I believe that yes, there is godly moral wisdom that is in this world.
God,
but
it is godly moral wisdom, which is what do you think that is? Godly moral wisdom.
It's the wisdom that is rooted in knowing what is good and what is bad and making your best possible judgment in that scenario. So
Okay.
what is good and what is bad comes from God. But it is not.
Okay, so let me add on top of that.
Exclusive to Christianity is my point.
Okay.
It's not. It's not exclusive to Christianity.
Okay.
There are many other religions in this world that have people who are wise, and they base their wisdom on their faith as well. And I think that it is just as credible and just as I would say if we were to put the scale of wisdom as well, it is just as valuable for them. It may not be in your view to view them like you're looking in your lens because you have the Christian lens that you're looking at them and you're like, okay, if you don't believe in this thing, you're not going to the king, you're not going to the afterlife, you're not going to live in heaven forever. And that's fine. But in their worldview, they have a different afterlife that they view as more important. And just because they have that belief does not take away from the wisdom that they have in this world.
Okay.
That's my
So I'll accept to that. So yes, they can still have wisdom. So I'll admit to that because I think I am wrong in that aspect. Yeah, they can still be wise. Though they don't follow a specific religion or whatnot, they can still be wise. So like I'll admit to that. I think it is wrong for me to say that. But at the same time is that again this is based upon my belief and my faith. And like I shouldn't be trying to blanket and put everybody under the same thing. You're certainly right with that. But I think that so when you said something earlier, dude, is that from God's from God's wisdom. I think inherently, dude, everybody people know there's something more. There's something more than just the life that we live today. I think inherently people know that, but people are just kind of blindsided by the things that happen in this world. And obviously there's an opposition who try to make that happen. But I think a lot of time when people notice and they have that interest and that desire, I think ultimately, eventually, God does reveal to them, and then they come to believe that, right? And so, them coming to believe that, okay, so there is a God, right? But there's also people in the world say there's also multiple gods. It's also trying to distinguish, okay, which one is the God that I should be pursuing? Who is like the one God that I should pursue? And so, after coming into alignment and understanding that, okay, cool, so Jesus Christ, so He is God based upon the biblical text. Once you then people then pursuing that, then once they come into acceptance that He is that God, God gives you wisdom, God gives you intelligence as well to try to save you so that you can make it to the afterlife, right? So that's another point that I'm also trying to argue. Again, I am wrong in this sense that I can't just blanket everybody into the same, but based upon my worldview. Yeah, you're certainly right with that. Like I shouldn't do that. And it is a bit of an arrogance of me that I do have sometimes, But I don't know. Do you understand what it is that I am trying to say?
Yeah, I understand what you're trying to say. I think if essentially you have either maybe a lack of a thing that you put first in your life. So what you believe is to be the highest order. For us, it would be God, right? But some people don't believe in God. So what do they have in the highest order then? And that's how they're essentially getting their method of making their decision comes from that viewpoint.
Yeah.
So in that case, yes, those people are probably not the wisest in some of the decisions that they make because they lack. So let's say they might find something that is in their view, there's nothing wrong with it. No one gets hurt. Why can't I do this? But we learn from the Bible and from God's teachings that there are some things that, sure, it may not seem like you're hurting anyone, but you're hurting yourself, or you are indirectly hurting others and you don't know it and you don't see it. And we don't get those lessons and we can't discern between the two unless we have God at the top.
Yeah.
But I think that extends from, but that point is not mutually exclusive to Christianity. That's my point as well.
And this is kind of something that and I haven't done an extended amount of research on this, but there's also those people that are so overly science-based and focused. And who's the famous scientist?
What did he just
Hawking, the famous scientist goes into a lot of the cosmos. I think he may be the one that came up with the Big Bang Theory, the one that's crippled. Oh, he died. I mean, he passed away now. Is it something in Hawkins?
Stephen Hawking?
No, it's Stephen Hawkins. Stephen Hawkins, yeah. This guy was obviously
You don't believe in the Big Bang?
Huh?
You don't think the Big Bang happened?
No, I don't think the Big Bang. No, I don't think that's no. Of course not. I think we talked about this already.
Well, we didn't. We never talked about the Big Bang. We talked about evolution, but
Okay. Yeah, I don't believe I don't believe the Big Bang. But I think he's the one. I don't know. Is he the one that came up with the Big Bang Theory?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
But essentially, this guy was very very wise and very smart, and he very much denied the existence of God. Now, I'm not trying to say that because he denied the existence of God that he died as a direct consequence of that. But I think eventually, this is kind of. I don't want to say this. But. What's another way to phrase this?
Just say it, man. Come on. dig into the dark side.
What?
Let the dark side out.
So I'm trying to find like the right words to articulate this in a way that doesn't come off too, like, just too
Dude,
bad.
okay, but you gotta be like, think about his situation. He was this incredibly intelligent man that was living life pretty much like, morally, as far as we know, like really well. And then
I'm curious how he died. I'm sorry to cut you off, but like I'm very curious.
I don't know how he died, but I know he got a debilitating disease that eventually led to him being essentially immobile in a wheelchair forever and can't even speak. He has to use a machine to talk. Like he can only use his eyes or something. It's like, how can someone like I understand someone like that who is hyper intelligent would eventually reach the conclusion that there is no God. I understand why he feels that way because he will feel very nihilistic already, but also like he would probably think, why would God, if there is an all-loving God, put me in this situation? And he would probably, I would understand why he would have those thoughts.
Yeah.
And he would be mad too. He would be mad. Like so many, like we talk about God being our father, extension of our, if there was a father, if you had a father, and many people do that, maybe didn't give you much and then, tortured you for your entire life and then thought he was greater than you. And you thought, no, I'm better than you. I can do things that you can't. You would try to, in some way, usurp that authority with whatever means possible. In his case, he had the intellect to do so. And he would try to do it by explaining things and saying like, no, God is wrong. This is stupid because this is the real way how it happened. And he spent his whole life dedicated to doing this.
Yeah.
So I can see why someone like that would become that way.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how he died, or I don't know what his faith was or religion at the time of his death.
Yeah.
So I can't say much about that.
Do you think God punishes those who don't eventually over time believe in him?
Yeah, I mean, eventually. Well, in our faith, the eventual punishment is you
In
death,
the current,
like no eternal life, essentially.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like,
spiritual death.
Yeah, I'm not talking about a spiritual death, but like in the physical world that we live in, like throughout your lifetime, do you think God will eventually like cut off your lifetime because, okay, I've given you multiple chances to believe in me and you still chose to believe in yourself? Do you think God eventually just like wipes those people out?
No.
No? Okay.
Well, I don't believe, because that wouldn't be an all-loving God. He would keep giving chances until the very end.
Well,
he would not.
Well, here's the thing. So like,
he would not get to a point where he's like, you know what, this guy, I've given him 5 chances. He has not become a believer. I'm gonna kill him. I don't think God would do that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think
he would give everyone the chance to eventually be saved.
Yeah,
and also, I don't think that it's necessarily a byproduct of your non-belief that you.
Okay, maybe not non-belief.
Things happen to non-believers. Bad things happen to non-believers. Bad things happen to believers, and good things happen to believers. It's a universal thing. We don't know how God moves or why he moves things. These are pieces on his board, and he controls essentially the outcomes of them all, or at least knows them. But we don't know.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And it's very hard to correlate somebody's death to a reason to because they didn't like. It's very hard to do that. But like in the Bible, God has wiped out whole civilizations. Yes. Whole civilization because they worship other God, and because they worship other gods, and they were sinning.
Also sinning like crazy.
Yeah,
and we know sin has consequences, right?
Yes, sin does have consequences, but like even and the big thing is like weren't in those specific civilization, and this is like pre like the Noah flood. There were good people in those times that were also wiped out because of the. I guess like the consequence. I mean, the sin and all the non-belief of other people. So God, I don't know. This is a touchy subject, man. Because I think about this because like I wish I knew the full answer and knew God's full nature, like what the reason why He did those things, But yeah, God has wiped out like full civilization because they worship other gods and they just greatly sin a lot.
I think I had this in my notes somewhere.
And then like sin can come in like many not believing in God is that a sin? not believing in God, is that a sin? Is that not a sin?
So
You
I don't know.
It's not-
I don't know actually.
you know, and yeah, man,
I
it's
would assume so.
yeah, it's because essentially, if you don't believe in God, that
if
means
you-
like
if
you're
you-
worshiping other
right,
gods.
you're
Essentially,
worshiping another god.
Yeah, and it says
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. This is a touchy subject, man.
So
I would love to act
if you
pastor
don't
about this.
believe in God, you're worshiping the
Yourself, essentially,
either
or-
yourself or the antithesis of God, or like it's so stupid to me that there are like one of the ways that people say, oh, there's no God, we don't believe in God, I'm gonna worship Satan, just as a way to say there's no God. It's
Bro.
like why would you choose to worship the anti God essentially as a, I know you're trying to rebel, but it's like if you really don't believe in God, then you would just live your life not knowing and not doing anything. But
Yeah.
you choose to do the opposite, which is I think it's always been crazy. But,
Yeah.
you know,
But what were you looking into?
I was gonna say, well, I guess this goes more into the next. Well, I'll talk about it next podcast. But yeah, never mind. Keep going.
No, but yeah, I think this is what's the time on this so far? But I think it's just like the big thing is that just to not overly worship intelligence, right? Because that's what the culture and that's what we're rewarded. Just how smart you are, how wise you are, how intellect you are, right? I think just don't let that overly take dominion over your life, right? I think not that I think you have to apply wisdom with the knowledge that you get. You have to apply wisdom with that knowledge, right? And where does wisdom come from? And again, we're spiritual people, and a lot of what we talk about in this podcast is about God, right? Amongst like other things as well. But the base of that, our foundation, is God, and God provides all things to us, of those who actually seek, right? And if we want wisdom, we act wisdom from God, right? And this is a verse in this is a verse let's see, right here, right? And so, yeah, so this is 1 King 3 to 9. Like, yeah, 1 King chapter 3, verse 9. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, that I may discern between good and evil. You talked about this. For who is able to govern this young grace? Okay, this is not the specific words that I'm looking for. When King, he did this is fuse. Yeah, I thought I had a verse over here in my notes, but actually, no, it's right here. It's right here.
People clicking off right now, leaving the video.
James encouraged the gospel son. This should be able to do. Yeah, so this is Proverbs 13, verse 20. So whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but companion of fools will suffer harm. This is still not the verse that I'm looking for, but nonetheless, though, like, you understand the message that we're trying to say here, right? The wisdom comes from God, right? And so when you overly just worship intelligence that the world worship, right? Sometimes that can lead you to think that to be your God, right? And there are consequences of that, of the many people that we just give example. The big one of them was like the Sam whatever guy, right? And so because he thought he was so
a bad example.
Huh?
Man.
How's that? How's that bad? I think that's a good example. This guy was a very intelligent person, very smart.
I think he's stupid.
You think it's stupid,
Yeah.
but you can't deny the fact that he was very intelligent, and he obviously he knew
all
that
right,
of
whatever.
himself, and eventually
We
he
don't have to
started
go back to it.
worshiping
I'm
him.
sorry.
No,
bringing
because
up.
you said that, so I
just
had
feel
to.
like there would be a better example somewhere. We didn't even get to Elon Musk.
No, okay, we can go back to Elon Musk.
Can
okay?
we for a few minutes?
Yeah,
I am curious what your thoughts are on that.
I'm gonna
on
see.
him, because I am seeing some stuff he's doing right now. I'm like, oh, that doesn't.
Okay, let's tell me about the stuff that he's doing. I'm curious, like some of the stuff that he is doing, which you just mentioned.
The only thing I'm seeing from him that's like I'm like, oh, is him and his baby mama's popping up.
His what?
He just like had another baby mama or something.
He had another
Yeah.
like recently new.
Yeah, they recently came
I
out.
didn't see that.
Yeah, it was like this whole thing, and Yeah, I think he's gonna try and like have as many babies as possible with as many women. It seems like that's the path that he's going
take
on.
over the
He's literally taking like
in
Solomon.
Elon world.
Yeah, he's literally taking Solomon's approach to that, which is
See,
it's like we've been warned about this before. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like these stories are given to us for a reason to warn us about things, and that concerns me a little.
I think it's a lot of it just it's a cycle that like repeats itself. A lot of the
Yeah, of course,
people from like back in time, like they just repeat like the same old mistakes.
Yeah, we're all cursed the same way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The first curse, Adam and Eve,
Yep.
we're all cursed the same way. So I would guess. But anyways, yeah, I don't really have much to go off of that other than that, and like, yeah, there's some stuff he's doing now which he might be overextending, and maybe he's maybe a bit too arrogant about certain topics that might hurt some people. Yes, all of those. Yeah, we're getting into dangerous waters. Is my point.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
because
With
we
Elon.
we haven't seen because Elon as I mentioned before, I think he has some form of wisdom as he's still. I mean, this guy's he hasn't gotten into any trouble that would essentially cause him to be in jail or not forfeit his life, but end up dead. But could that be something that happens in the future? Like what happened to Solomon? Like
I think he believes what he's doing is good.
that's
But the thing is,
But aren't other
yeah. This is
believe
the
the same
this is the
thing?
issue. Is like he believes what he's doing is good, but he also has such sometimes a long-term view on things that the things he believes is good, he believes is worthwhile for it to be bad for a certain period of time before it becomes good, in order to justify the good that comes later. And sometimes that bad can be really detrimental and really catastrophic, and we just don't know what that is. But yeah,
Okay. Well, I guess we have yet to see. I support a lot of things that he does. I mean, there's other things
love
that I don't.
Tesla.
Yeah,
I love
there's other
Tesla,
things that I don't.
SpaceX, Neuralink, boring company.
He's made a monumental
X,
movement into like improving the world that we live in
XAI.
today. That's the XAI. Yeah, that's kind of
Grok.
that's
Dude,
interesting.
you can't deny he's incredibly, like, he's a very gifted person.
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
able to build all of these. It's like people are calling him a scammer, and I'm like,
I
oh
think,
yeah,
just some people,
he's a scamming con artist that built not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, 6 billion, or is it 6 or 5? Whatever, $5 or $6 billion companies. He scammed his way to building all these companies.
Yeah, I mean, those are just
very smart. That's a lot of wisdom there from these people saying that about him.
Yeah, dude. I think some people just don't have no form of intelligence to be able to put two and two together.
I don't think they're not smart. I think they're just clouded emotionally by what he does and what they don't like about him, that they forego, and they don't see all the good that he's done, and they can't attach, like, separate the two, like the good deeds of a person and the person, like they can't. Anyways.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But again, I think this is he's somebody that I pay attention to like closely, just kind of see what happens. Will he bring people to Mars? Who knows?
I think he will.
You think he will?
Yeah, I think he's gonna be like, bring people to Mars. Once he's done, he's gonna go there. His companies are gonna run on Earth, and then he's gonna go on Mars, live there, and probably die there. Wants to be married on Mars.
That's very interesting. I'll love to see if that happened. Yeah, because what's this like? I think he's given a timeline about when he will he will officially land one of his rockets in Mars. Has he?
I think it's within like 2035 or 2050. I forgot.
2025.
35.
Oh, okay.
2050. I don't know if one of those two, but we're gonna see it in our lifetime, God willing.
Yeah, man. I hope that. Anyways, but yeah, I think that.
Would you want to go to Mars? It's a one-way trip. You can't come back.
I don't think so. I wouldn't, man. I wouldn't. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I have no business in Mars.
Do you think if we find Martians, we should send missionaries there?
Like Martians would just be just another word for a Martian would be.
Let's say intelligent, conscious beings.
Okay.
There, and they're Martians, like aliens. But like we can communicate with them, and they have consciousness.
So what's the question you're asking then?
Should we send missionaries
Mission?
to Mars?
I can't believe this guy just said that. I don't know, Kai. What do you think? Do you think we should?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Are they made in the image of God? That would.
What did you say?
Shit, it's a real question, man.
Are Martians made in the image of God?
If there are intelligent, conscious beings in the universe, are they made in the image of God?
I think we're the only, like humans, are the only, if you want to use the word creatures, that are made in the image of God.
But like, if there was another intelligent, conscious being in the universe,
Are they made in the image of God?
yeah. What does that say about that statement?
I don't know. What do you think it says?
That is not. Is it just physical, or is it now something else? Is it just the conscious intellect?
I don't
Is it
know.
maybe beyond that?
I don't know. I think this guy's going too far into the deep end.
I'm back,
He go-
baby.
he's too far into the deep
See, it
into
just
deep
takes me
end.
time to warm up. To
Yeah.
the next podcast.
So yeah, we'll
Go
record
ahead.
another podcast. Yeah, we'll record another podcast. But
finish up.
no, this because like the big thing that I was trying to say earlier, I think to not overly glorify intelligence, or not to glorify intelligence at all. You have to have wisdom, right? Kind of like the cases that we gave earlier. It's like people who overly glorify intelligence sometimes. I'll use the word sometimes so this guy doesn't jump at me again. End up in not the best places, right? And so, yes, my friend, if anything, get wisdom. And where you get wisdom from God. All right.
I think
But
there's 3 ways, real quick. 3 ways.
Go ahead.
One is your past experiences,
past experience,
things
yeah.
that you've gone through. Layer 1. Second is other people's experiences,
Yeah,
learning from them.
That's true. That's
And
also very true.
especially those that are ahead of you and older and have experienced things already.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's God. And God permeates all 3 levels.
Yep. I like that. All right, guys. This is going to conclude episode 6 of Beyond Logic. See you guys in the next episode.
Peace.